What if I told you that the greatest danger to your growth is not ignorance itself, but the failure to connect what you learn with how you act? How many times have you come across valuable lessons, only to leave them unpracticed, like unopened gifts on a shelf? Has this ever happened to you? We live in a time overflowing with knowledge, yet starving for wisdom. The truth is, learning without thinking is empty, and thinking without learning is risky. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. True growth is born in the balance between study, reflection, and decisive action. Think about it. You can read every book, attend every course, listen to every inspiring talk, but if your actions never shift, has anything really changed? What you're about to discover might surprise you, because the missing piece is often not more information, but the courage to embody the information you already hold. Stay with me until the end, because I promise you, the insights here could very well reshape the way you look at your daily choices. When you treat others as you would like to be treated, you're not just following an old moral code, you are practicing the shortest path toward true virtue. It sounds simple, almost too simple, yet this principle has the power to redefine how we move through relationships, work, and even self-growth. Think for a moment about your last disagreement or moment of frustration. Did you respond from ego, or did you respond from understanding? The difference may seem small, but it's everything. This is where humility over ego becomes not just a concept, but a practice that sets apart those who quietly transform the world. The wise have always known this truth. Real leadership does not stand at the front demanding attention, but places itself behind, supporting, guiding, and lifting others. It might feel counterintuitive. Aren't leaders supposed to be in the spotlight? Yet lowering yourself isn't weakness. It is the unseen force that raises others, and in doing so, builds authentic influence. People may forget the words you speak, but they will never forget the presence you bring when you put them above yourself. Isn't it interesting how those we most respect are rarely the ones who shout the loudest? Think about the people in your own life who have inspired you. Were they the ones constantly demanding recognition, or were they the ones whose quiet example pushed you to aim higher? The paradox is clear. Those who chase applause often lose it, while those who serve with humility often find respect flowing to them naturally. The world is already crowded with voices shouting for attention. The true leaders, the true builders of change, are those who understand that influence is earned not by standing taller, but by kneeling lower. And so we stand at the edge of a deeper truth. To learn, think, and act is to embody a cycle of transformation that reshapes not only your life, but the lives you touch. Humility is not the absence of strength, it is its refinement. Ego screams. Humility whispers. Ego demands. Humility serves. And in that quiet service, the seeds of greatness are sown. But where does this leave us? And how can we apply these timeless ideas in our modern, fast-paced, distraction-filled world? That's exactly where we're heading next. If you're looking for more insights like this, make sure to subscribe. Each new video is designed to guide you through powerful lessons that can truly transform your mindset and your journey. It's fascinating to realize how life constantly weaves this hidden truth. Every single one of us is both a teacher and a student at the same time. Think about it, your actions, even the smallest ones, ripple out into the lives of others, often teaching lessons you didn't even intend to give. And just as often, someone else's mistakes or struggles become the stage where your own growth is tested. A good person teaches the bad through example, while a bad person, even unknowingly, gives the good their work. This dynamic reminds us that learning and teaching aren't isolated roles. They exist in a constant dance, a behind-the-scenes exchange, shaping who we become. The real question is, what kind of lesson are you leaving behind without even speaking a word? When you recognize that you are part of this endless exchange, something shifts in your mindset. You begin to see responsibility not as a weight, but as an opportunity. Every choice, every reaction, every word carries the possibility of guiding someone else's path just as their influence is yours. Imagine how much impact one act of patience, one moment of integrity, or one decision rooted in empathy can have. Sometimes the most profound revelations are found not in what we say, but in the way we live. In that sense, transformation is never about changing others. First, it's about changing ourselves, so that our lives themselves become the silent teaching others can't ignore. But there's another dimension to this journey that often goes unnoticed: courage. We tend to think of bravery as loud, visible acts charging forward, taking dramatic risks, or facing danger head-on. That is outer courage, the kind that dares to die for something. Yet there's an even deeper form, one that often remains unseen behind the scenes. Inner courage. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. It is the steady persistence of living day after day with integrity, even when nobody is watching. It is daring to live fully when fear whispers that it's safer to hide. Have you ever considered that sometimes the hardest thing is not facing death, but facing life itself with all its uncertainty, rejection, and vulnerability? That's real courage, the kind that reshapes destinies not with grand gestures, but with consistent, quiet strength. This kind of bravery is not glamorous. It doesn't always look like victory on the outside. It might mean continuing despite failure, choosing honesty when lies would be easier, or moving forward when staying still feels more comfortable. Yet it is in these invisible decisions where the true impact of your journey is defined. Outer courage might inspire for a moment, but inner courage transforms a lifetime. It's a hidden truth that the world often overlooks, yet it is the very foundation of authentic transformation. And just when you think you've reached the end of something, life reveals another paradox. What the caterpillar calls the end, the rest of the world calls a butterfly. Endings aren't always what they appear to be. Many times, what feels like loss is actually metamorphosis in disguise. Think of those moments when a chapter of your life closed abruptly, a relationship that ended, a dream that slipped away, a door that shut without warning. At first, it felt like collapse. Yet looking back, wasn't that very ending the soil where a new beginning began to sprout? Transformation hides inside loss, and behind every collapse, there is the seed of renewal. This is the hidden truth about growth. It rarely announces itself in triumph. It often arrives dressed as endings. But endings are not graves. They are thresholds. They whisper to us that change, as painful as it may be, is the very process by which wings are formed. If the caterpillar could see the butterfly in advance, it might never fear the cocoon. And if you could see the possibilities waiting just beyond your current struggle, perhaps you'd fear less and trust more. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the silent exchange of teacher and student, the quiet persistence of courage, and the metamorphosis of endings opens a doorway into an entirely new way of living. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, write, "I'm also on this path," if these words resonate with you. Because by affirming it, you're not just agreeing, you're marking your own journey of transformation, courage, and renewal. There is something powerful about the way actions reveal more than words ever could. Think of how easy it is to promise, to speak of plans, to declare intentions. Words can flow endlessly, but they don't build bridges, they don't mend wounds, and they don't create impact on their own. It is only when words are embodied in consistent action that they gain weight and meaning. The superior person, the one who truly shapes their journey, speaks modestly and excels in deeds. There's no need to broadcast every step, because results whisper more loudly than announcements. And here lies a hidden truth. Most failures don't come from lack of knowledge, but from abandoning the process too soon. We rush, we crave immediate results, and in doing so, we often neglect the care and persistence that transformation requires. If you slow down, if you give as much energy to the final steps as you did to the first spark of enthusiasm, failure becomes nearly impossible. Behind the scenes of every great achievement, you'll find not just talent, but discipline and patience. It is tempting to think that breakthroughs are sudden, but the reality is different. Breakthroughs are simply the visible face of countless small, invisible choices carried out with consistency. This mindset shifts the way we approach challenges, because it is no longer about rushing to the finish line, but about honoring the journey itself. Imagine how many opportunities slip away, not because we lacked the ability, but because we didn't finish with the same care we began. The truth is, transformation isn't born in the grand gestures, but in the quiet decisions made day after day. But what happens when the foundation of virtue itself begins to fade? History and human nature show us that when genuine virtue declines, it is first replaced by mere good-natured pleasantness without depth. When that fades, people cling to justice, but even justice, if detached from virtue, turns rigid and mechanical. And when even that weakens, all that remains is decency, a hollow shell of appearances without real essence. This slow decline is a revelation worth reflecting on, because it shows how easy it is to lose the roots of what truly matters and replace them with imitations. We start caring more about looking good than being good, about following empty rules instead of first principles. It's like building a house with painted walls but no foundation. From the outside, it might look stable, but the first storm exposes the fragility. The hidden truth here is simple. Appearances never hold when tested by time. What sustains us is what lies underneath our values, our integrity, our decisions when no one is watching. This is where the real impact of a life is defined, not in gestures meant to impress, but in the quiet, invisible moments of alignment with what is true. So ask yourself, are you living by appearances or by principles? The difference between the two is the difference between a temporary performance and a lasting transformation. And then we arrive at something equally vital, the art of measure. He who knows the measure is satisfied. This is not just about material possessions. It is about everything. Enough is not a number. It is a decision. It's about mindset, about the courage to say, I don't need more to prove my worth. I don't need excess to feel whole. In a world that constantly screams for more success, more recognition, more accumulation, contentment becomes a radical act. It frees you from comparison and places you firmly in the present. Knowing the measure protects your soul from the endless hunger that society disguises as ambition. It allows you to build boundaries that keep your journey balanced, your mind clear, and your heart unburdened. True wealth isn't about having everything. It's about recognizing when what you have is enough to nourish your life and your spirit. And when you choose enough consciously, you gain something that can't be purchased: peace. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when actions speak louder than words, when virtue holds its ground, and when contentment becomes your measure, something extraordinary begins to happen. You discover a freedom that no external validation can ever give. Before we continue, I want you to take part in this reflection. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." By putting it into words, you affirm not just understanding, but a step toward making these principles a living part of your own journey. Freedom is a word that seduces us, yet few truly understand the depth of its meaning. We often imagine freedom as doing whatever we want, whenever we want, without boundaries or limits. But the hidden truth is that real freedom has nothing to do with indulgence. It is about mastery. No one is free who cannot command themselves. Think about it. If your impulses dictate your every move, are you really in control, or are you just a puppet pulled by invisible strings? Self-mastery is not about suffocating your desires, but about directing them with clarity. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the gatekeeper. Every decision you make, whether it's in the heat of emotion or in the silence of reflection, either builds your liberty or chains you further. Behind the scenes of every life that looks stable, balanced, and impactful, you'll find one thing in common: the ability to say yes and no with purpose, rather than with impulse. This mindset carries into the way we use our words. In a world flooded with noise, those who can say much in few words stand out. Silence is often underrated, but it has weight. Words should be chosen like precious stones, rare, clear, and carrying meaning. Brevity forces clarity, because when you strip away the excess, what remains is the essence. Have you noticed how the most impactful statements in history are usually short? They don't overwhelm, they pierce. To speak less and mean more is to protect your peace while amplifying your impact. Every word you release carries energy, and once spoken, it cannot be taken back. When you guard your tone, when you ensure that what you say is worth more than silence itself, you begin to wield communication as a tool for transformation rather than as a weapon of confusion. And when you combine self-mastery with the power of carefully chosen words, something else begins to unfold, the ability to do right without waiting for recognition. This is perhaps one of the most difficult lessons in any journey. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek praise, applause, validation. Yet the more we chase approval, the more enslaved we become to the opinions of others. To be content doing good, even if no one notices, is a revelation. It means you've anchored your compass to what matters, not to the shifting winds of external judgment. Praise and blame are like weather, ever-changing, unpredictable, and beyond your control. What is within your control is your commitment to what is right. There is immense transformation in realizing that your worth is not measured by applause. Think of how liberating it feels to act with integrity, even when no one is watching. To know that your value is not tied to an audience, but to your own alignment with truth. The journey becomes lighter when you stop carrying the burden of pleasing everyone and instead focus on becoming someone you yourself can respect. That is the essence of authentic freedom, not to impress, but to express, not to perform, but to embody. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when discipline shapes your freedom, when your words carry clarity, and when your actions detach from the need for applause, a new horizon opens, one where peace and power coexist, and where your life begins to influence others without the noise of validation. Before moving forward, I'd love for you to reflect with me. Write in the comments, "I choose freedom." By doing so, you affirm not only understanding, but also a conscious decision to step into self-mastery, clarity, and purpose. There comes a point in every journey where the noise of the world grows so loud that it threatens to drown out your own inner compass. Opinions multiply like shadows, each one trying to pull you in a different direction. Some will applaud, others will criticize, and many will misunderstand. If you let yourself be governed by those waves, you'll never stand on solid ground. Doing what is right means respecting yourself above all else, because reason endures while trends fade like mist at sunrise. The hidden truth is that validation from others is always temporary, but alignment with your principles gives a kind of strength that no passing opinion can shake. Behind the scenes of every decision that shaped history, you will find men and women who learn to listen more deeply to conscience than to applause. And this is where another revelation surfaces. Choosing the uncrowded path, the road most traveled, feels safe. It is lit, marked, and filled with company. Yet the public road rarely leads to transformation. To step off and follow the quiet trail of originality is to invite loneliness at first. It means walking where there are no maps, where the silence can feel heavy, and where doubt whispers that you are lost. But it is precisely in that wilderness that strength is born. The mindset required to walk alone at the beginning becomes the same strength that later allows you to lead others when they finally see what you saw all along. Originality costs comfort in the short term, but it pays back with impact in the long term. What once felt isolating becomes your greatest advantage, because the world always hungers for voices that dared to step away from imitation. Of course, walking such a path tests you in other ways, especially when anger enters the scene. Anger begins in madness, a fire that consumes logic and clouds judgment, but it almost always ends in regret. Think about the decisions you've made in moments of heat. How many of them brought peace afterward? Anger seduces us with the illusion of power, but its impact corrodes more than it heals. True courage is not in unleashing the storm, but in mastering it. And here lies another hidden truth. Sometimes the most painful wounds come not from enemies, but from friends. Yet those wounds, given in honesty, carry more value than the sweetest lies from those who wish us harm. Justice itself is not found in blind retaliation, but in thoughtful action, where integrity guides the response rather than impulse. It is in these moments, when you resist the pull of public opinion, when you choose the quieter trail, and when you master the fire of anger, that your character is revealed. These decisions shape not only how others see you, but how you see yourself when no one else is watching. Each choice is a revelation, a behind-the-scenes moment where the hidden architecture of your life is built. Every time you ignore empty validation, every time you dare to be original, every time you pause before letting anger lead you, are strengthening the foundation of a freedom and clarity few ever taste. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the journey of self-respect, originality, and thoughtful action carries us into questions that strike at the very core of how we live and who we become. Before we move forward, I want you to reflect with me. Write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." By doing so, you affirm not only that this resonates with you, but that you are committed to choosing principles over popularity, courage over conformity, and wisdom over impulse. The way a day begins often determines the rhythm of everything that follows. From the moment your eyes open, there is already a silent battle taking place between distraction and direction. If you rise and allow the world to dictate your flow, notifications, noise, endless demands, you step into the day reactive, constantly adjusting to whatever comes your way. But when you command your day as soon as you wake, something extraordinary happens. Energy shifts. The mindset you establish in those first moments sets a tone that bends reality in your favor. Planning is not about control, it is about clarity, and clarity is power. Behind the scenes of lives that appear stable and impactful, there is always the hidden discipline of a morning, anchored by intention. It isn't about rigid schedules or impossible perfection, but about starting with decisions that signal to your mind and spirit, "I lead, I don't just follow." And yet, no matter how prepared we are, mistakes inevitably enter the journey. It is tempting to patch them with words, to cover errors with explanations or justifications, but words cannot repair what actions have broken. Integrity is not in how eloquently we apologize, but in how effectively we correct. True responsibility lives not in rhetoric, but in deeds. To make a mistake is human. To refuse to repair, it is weakness. When you step forward with humility, when you take the concrete action to make something right, you transform failure into growth. Every error contains a hidden truth. It is not a final verdict, but an invitation to refine. A spoken apology may soothe the surface, but action rebuilds trust, impact, and authenticity at their core. The problem is that many confuse responsibility with stress. Responsibility clarifies the path, while stress clouds it. Stress screams that everything is urgent, that the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. Responsibility, however, whispers that while not everything is within your control, your choices are. Stress paralyzes. Responsibility activates. Ownership is the mindset shift that turns worry into movement. The secret is simple but profound. Replace worry with one concrete step. That step doesn't have to solve everything, it just has to move you forward. Each small act of ownership chips away at the chaos, bringing order, clarity, and momentum. The hidden truth is that much of what we call stress is simply energy misdirected. When you transform that same energy into responsibility, everything changes. Think of it this way. Stress is standing at the edge of a mountain, staring at the peak, overwhelmed by its height. Responsibility is taking the first step on the trail, one foot in front of the other, knowing the climb is long, but also knowing that the summit is only reached by movement. It is not the size of the mountain that breaks you. It is standing still under its shadow. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you learn to command your mornings, repair with action instead of words, and replace stress with responsibility, you begin to access a hidden reservoir of strength and clarity that most people never tap into. Before we move forward, I want you to leave your mark in the comments. Write, "I choose clarity." By doing this, you're not only reflecting on what resonates with you, but also affirming a decision to lead your days with intention, integrity, and ownership. There is a subtle strength in kindness that often goes unnoticed, hidden behind the noise of arguments, debates, and the obsession with being right. How many moments of peace have been lost simply because someone refused to let go of the need to win? The hidden truth is that being right rarely transforms a situation, but kindness has the power to transform people. It changes the atmosphere of a room in an instant, softening walls that logic could never break through. Choosing kindness over correctness is not about weakness. It is about wisdom. It is the decision to prioritize impact over ego, to understand that the journey of human connection is built less on proving points and more on extending grace. When you shift your mindset this way, you begin to see how kindness is not just an act. It is a force that can alter the direction of a conversation, a day, even a life. This choice naturally leads into another revelation, the way we perceive beauty and the way it shapes our sense of time. He who can still see beauty never grows old. There is something timeless about a heart that can marvel at simple things, about eyes that still notice wonder in the ordinary. Aging has less to do with years and more to do with perspective. When cynicism takes over, when the ability to be surprised fades, that is when the spirit grows old. But when you nurture curiosity, when you take time to see beauty in nature, in people, in the small moments often overlooked, you renew the heart. Beauty is not about perfection. It is about perception. It is a hidden truth that wonder is a kind of fountain of youth, not for the body, but for the soul. And if you think about it, those who maintain this sense of wonder carry a lightness that transcends age, a vitality born not from years, but from vision. And this brings us to an even deeper transformation, the way perception itself shapes reality. To live as if everything is a miracle is to step into a different dimension of existence. Gratitude rewires the mind, shifting your lens so completely that the world itself seems to change. The miracles are not in rare, extraordinary events. They are everywhere, hidden in plain sight. The breath in your lungs, the sun rising again, the chance to begin anew after failure. These are not small things, they are revelations. The problem is not that life lacks miracles. It is that we often lack the eyes to see them. When you begin to live with the mindset that everything is a miracle, even challenges transform. Obstacles become teachers, losses become thresholds, and setbacks become hidden openings into something greater. This shift in perception is not naive. It is powerful. It doesn't deny pain or difficulty, but reframes them, allowing you to walk through life with resilience and clarity. Gratitude is the quiet alchemy that turns ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. Behind the scenes of a life filled with meaning, you will always find a heart trained to recognize the miraculous in the mundane. And once that lens shifts, there is no going back. You cannot unsee the wonder. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when kindness replaces ego, when beauty keeps your spirit young, and when gratitude unveils the miraculous, the journey takes on a depth that few ever experience. Before moving forward, I want you to reflect with me. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." By doing so, you affirm not just that the words resonate, but that you are choosing to see your own life through the lens of kindness, beauty, and gratitude. There is a moment in the journey of every person where a subtle but profound shift takes place. The realization that you are not your thoughts. Until then, the mind feels like a constant flood, a restless current, dragging you from memory to worry, from judgment to desire. But once you see that thoughts are like passing weather, temporary patterns moving across the sky of your awareness, everything changes. You begin to observe instead of obey, to notice the storm without drowning in it. The hidden truth here is that freedom doesn't begin when you control every thought. It begins in the small space between awareness and reaction. That gap is power. It's where you decide whether to follow the storm or to stand still and let it pass. Spiritual awakening often starts not with visions or revelations, but with this simple practice, watching the mind and realizing it is not the whole of who you are. From this space of clarity, the fears that once seemed invincible begin to lose their grip. Fairy tales endure not just because they entertain, but because they remind us that dragons can be defeated. Every monster, whether external or internal, can be named, faced, and slowly diminished. Fear thrives in silence, in avoidance, in the shadows where we refuse to look. But when you call it by its name, when you turn toward it and take even the smallest daily action against it, the illusion weakens. This is not about grand acts of courage, but about persistence. Like a knight who confronts the same dragon each day, you begin to notice it shrinking, not because it has vanished, but because you have grown. The journey is not about eliminating fear altogether, but about transforming your relationship with it so that it becomes a teacher rather than a tyrant. Yet there is another enemy that hides even closer than fear-anger. It feels powerful in the moment, like a fire rushing through your veins, giving the illusion of strength and control. But in reality, anger burns the one who holds it first. Resentment corrodes the container that carries it, poisoning the spirit long before it touches anyone else. Think of how heavy it feels to hold on to a grudge, how draining it is to replay the same injury in your mind again and again. Meanwhile, the other person, the one who ignited the anger, often moves on, unaware of the weight you continue to carry. To hold anger is to drink poison while hoping the other will suffer. The hidden truth is that forgiveness is not about excusing others. It is about protecting yourself. When you put the acid down, you preserve your vessel. You stop corroding from within and free yourself to keep moving forward. And in this movement forward lies transformation. The combination of observing your thoughts, facing your fears, and releasing your anger reshapes not just your mindset, but your entire way of being. Behind the scenes of those who appear calm, grounded, and resilient, you will always find these three practices at work. They may not always be visible, but they are the quiet foundations of freedom. Thoughts lose their power when seen for what they are. Fears lose their enormity when faced. Anger loses its sting when released. This is the alchemy of the inner life, the slow but steady crafting of strength through awareness, courage, and letting go. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you detach from the storm of thoughts, confront the dragons of fear, and release the acid of anger, you begin to uncover a hidden reservoir of peace and clarity that no external circumstance can shake. Before we continue, write in the comments, "I choose peace." By putting it into words, you're not just agreeing with a no idea, you're affirming a decision to walk lighter, freer, and stronger on your own journey. Life constantly places us before two kinds of pain, and the hidden truth is that we cannot escape them both. We must choose. On one side is the pain of discipline, the small but steady effort of showing up every day, keeping routines, honoring commitments, even when motivation fades. On the other side is the pain of regret, the heavy weight of what if carried for years, a burden far greater than the brief discomfort of self-control. Routine may seem repetitive, but it builds resilience. Regret, however, is a debt that compounds over time. Think about it. Which pain would you rather carry? One strengthens you in silence. The other eats away at you behind the scenes, whispering constantly of roads not taken. Transformation begins the moment you understand that every act of discipline is not a restriction, but a quiet investment in freedom. Yet even when we know this, another enemy often rises: doubt. Doubt is subtle, persuasive, and far more destructive than failure itself. Failure at least teaches. It reveals hidden truths. It sharpens the path forward. Doubt, on the other hand, paralyzes. It kills more dreams than failure ever could, because it convinces you not to try at all. Behind the scenes of many abandoned journeys lies not defeat, but hesitation. The door of opportunity rarely opens to those who stand frozen before it, but it does open for those who knock again and again, even if the first knock brings silence. Trying, failing, adjusting, and trying once more is the rhythm of growth. The impact is never found in perfection, but in persistence. Every step forward, no matter how imperfect, carries more weight than endless waiting for the right moment that never comes. And then there is suffering, the kind we imagine and the kind we actually face. It's remarkable how the mind can create storms larger than reality itself. We anticipate pain, we magnify. Challenges, we rehearse disasters that may never happen. The suffering we imagine often dwarfs the suffering that truly arrives. Reality, as harsh as it can be, is also teachable. It shows us limits, yes, but it also shows us strength we didn't know we had. The imagined fear keeps us from moving, but the lived challenge reveals that we are tougher and kinder than we expected. This is the hidden truth behind resilience. It is not born from avoiding hardship, but from engaging with it and discovering that you can endure more than your fears suggested. Hard times do not just break, they build. They plant roots deeper into the soil of your being, anchoring you in ways ease and comfort never could. There is a kind of transformation that only difficulty can bring, a clarity that emerges only when illusions fall away. While imagined suffering leaves you drained and powerless, real suffering, when faced with awareness, can awaken a new mindset. It can strip away what is unnecessary, sharpen your values, and reveal where your strength truly lies. The journey may be uncomfortable, but it leaves you grounded, unshuckable, and strangely softer at the same time, because true strength is never rigid. It is steady and compassionate. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you choose discipline over regret, when you act despite doubt, and when you learn to see suffering as a teacher rather than a tyrant, you open the door to a kind of freedom that many seek, but few find. Before we move forward, reflect with me and write in the comments, I choose growth. By doing so, you're not only agreeing with the message, you're declaring a decision to embrace effort, courage, and resilience as part of your own journey. There is a moment in every journey where holding on feels easier than letting go. Yet that grasp often becomes the very chain that keeps us from moving forward. The past, with all its memories, failures, and even victories, can become a leash if we allow it. But the hidden truth is that the past was never meant to imprison. It was meant to teach. Every experience carries a lesson, but once learned, the weight must be released. To cling to what no longer grows you is to choose stagnation over transformation. The mindset required here is one of courage, because letting go demands faith in what has not yet arrived. It is about rewriting the ending, not by revisiting old chapters, but by starting a new page now. The impact of this choice is immense because life does not expand for those who cling. It expands for those who evolve. Yet even when we manage to release the grip of the past, another obstacle often rises from within, the ego. Perhaps the most insidious of all enemies, ego disguises itself as strength while quietly sabotaging growth. It resists correction, rejects humility, and hungers for validation. Behind the scenes of many broken journeys, you will find not failure of ability, but failure to overcome pride. Ego blinds. Used to feedback, keeps us from admitting mistakes, and convinces us that we already know enough. But the hidden truth is that progress only belongs to the teachable. Gratitude invites learning, humility opens doors, and pride slams them shut. To advance, you must trade the armor of ego for the openness of a student, no matter how far you've already come. The journey is not about proving superiority. It is about deepening wisdom. Gratitude pulls you forward, pride holds you back, and every decision between the two shapes your future. This is where patience enters, not as a passive waiting, but as an active force multiplier. Impatience whispers that everything must happen now, that if results are not immediate, they will never come. But impatience makes life heavier, turning opportunities into frustrations and progress into disappointment. Patience, on the other hand, transforms effort into mastery. It is the hidden ingredient behind every great achievement. Timing is a skill, and waiting, actively preparing, practicing, persisting, is what creates results that last. Impatience rushes the harvest and ruins the crop, while patience allows roots to deepen, ensuring the fruit will endure. Patience is not weakness, it is alignment with reality. Every transformation has its rhythm, and to force it is to break it. Behind the scenes of every story of success, there are seasons of waiting, of preparation unseen by the world. And yet, those seasons are what gave weight and impact to this breakthrough when it finally arrived. The hidden truth is that patience isn't about standing still, it's about building quietly, so that when the time comes, you are ready not only to receive, but to sustain what you've been working toward. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you learn to let go of what no longer serves you, when you disarm the ego and embrace humility, and when you allow patience to multiply your strength, you step into a flow where growth is no longer forced but inevitable. Before we continue, I want you to reflect and write in the comments, "I choose to evolve." By doing so, you are not just agreeing with an idea, you are declaring to yourself that you will release the leash of the past, silence the pride of ego, and embrace the quiet power of patience. There is a hidden truth about action that most people overlook. Nothing changes until movement begins. You can spend hours, days, even years immersed in reading, planning, and strategizing. But until you act, everything remains in theory. Action carries a weight that thought alone never will. It is 10 times more powerful than preparation because it transforms ideas into reality. Strategy matters, yes, but execution is what compounds. The moment you ship something, take a risk, or move forward, you step into a space where progress becomes possible. Behind the scenes of every great journey, you'll find countless imperfect actions that were refined only because someone dared to. Start. Waiting for perfection is the hidden enemy of transformation because it disguises hesitation as preparation. The truth is that you don't need flawless beginnings. You need beginnings that allow improvement. It is through doing, failing, and adjusting that growth takes root. And once you begin to act, perspective becomes everything. Gratitude is the lens that reframes reality. Without it, even abundance feels scarce, but with it, even scarcity feels full. Gratitude has the quiet power to turn enough into more than enough. It transforms complaints into awareness and lack into appreciation. The mindset it creates is not passive. It shifts how you perceive, and therefore how you respond to life. Counting blessings out loud may sound simple, but it rewires the brain to notice what is already working rather than obsessing over what is missing. This practice changes the energy of your journey, making the path lighter and the obstacles less overwhelming. Gratitude does not erase challenges, but it reveals the hidden truth that even within difficulty, something valuable remains. It is a practice of training your eyes to see not just what you wish for, but what is already present, sustaining you quietly behind the scenes. This naturally leads to the deeper foundation of inner wealth. Outer success may bring attention, recognition, and material comfort, but none of it matters if peace is absent. True wealth is not stored in accounts or possessions. It is built in character, calm, and clarity. These are currencies that cannot be bought, stolen, or lost to circumstance. They are investments in the self, and they pay in every market, especially when the external world becomes uncertain. To build inner wealth is to create a fortress within, a place where storms may rage outside, but cannot touch your core. The hidden truth here is that inner peace is not found, it is cultivated. It comes from the daily decisions you make, how you speak to yourself, how you treat others, how you frame setbacks, and how you align your actions with your values. Imagine a life where action fuels momentum, gratitude shapes perception, and inner wealth anchors your spirit. That combination creates a resilience no external force can shake. It is the quiet power behind transformation, the kind that doesn't depend on applause or circumstance. The impact of such a life is felt not only in personal growth, but also in the way it touches others, often without words. Because peace is magnetic, gratitude is contagious, and consistent action is inspiring. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when execution replaces hesitation, when gratitude reframes every experience, and when inner wealth becomes your anchor, the journey itself transforms into something extraordinary, stable, abundant, and free. Before we continue, I'd like you to reflect and write in the comments, "I build from within." By doing so, you declare that your focus is not only on external success, but on cultivating the mindset and inner strength that sustain it for the long run. There is a hidden dimension to growth that few truly embrace: service. When we step into the act of helping others, something remarkable happens behind the scenes. Skills sharpen in ways they never could through study alone. Networks expand naturally because generosity attracts, and motives become purified as the focus shifts from self-gain to shared impact. Service is mastery in disguise because it forces us to apply what we know in real, tangible ways. It strips away theory and demands presence, action, and humility. The paradox is that in giving, we often receive more than we offered. Transformation takes root not only in the lives we touch, but within us, reshaping our mindset and broadening our capacity to lead with integrity. Service is not a distraction from growth. It is one of the most direct paths toward it. And yet, growth does not happen in isolation. It is influenced by the company we keep. You are the average of those you spend time with, and whether we acknowledge it or not, the people around us are constantly shaping our ceilings and our floors. Some lift us higher, challenging us to refine our mindset, expand our vision, and push past limitations. Others weigh us down, reinforcing doubts, validating excuses, and normalizing mediocrity. The hidden truth is that environment is not neutral. It is always pulling us in one direction or another. Choosing your circle is, therefore, one of the most impactful decisions you can make. It is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about alignment. Surround yourself with those whose presence inspires evolution rather than stagnation, and watch how your own energy, clarity, and discipline rise. Behind every extraordinary journey, there are people who either encouraged it or suffocated it. Choose wisely, because your circle is the soil in which your roots grow. But even when the soil is rich, growth requires protection. Privacy is often overlooked in a world obsessed with display, yet it holds immense power. Progress, when exposed too soon, becomes fragile. Ideas shared before they are grounded risk being scattered by the noise of opinions. Plans revealed prematurely are vulnerable to doubt, envy, or simple distraction. That is why keeping your progress quiet until it is sturdy is a discipline worth mastering. Privacy is not secrecy, it is protection. It allows momentum to build undisturbed, gives you time to refine without interference, and ensures that when results finally speak, they cannot be denied. The hidden truth here is that silence often creates strength because it removes the pressure of performance and leaves only the purity of purpose. This practice of guarding your growth also shifts the source of validation. Instead of depending on external applause, you let the work itself speak. You trust the process, and when the time is right, the impact becomes undeniable. Behind the scenes of the strongest foundations lies a period of quiet building, where the seeds of transformation were watered away from public view. It is in those quiet seasons that real strength is formed, because without constant observation, you are free to focus on alignment rather than performance. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you learn that service accelerates mastery, when you intentionally shape your circle, and when you protect your progress through privacy, you create a framework for growth that is both powerful and sustainable. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect and write in the comments, "I protect my growth." By doing this, you are affirming to yourself that you value your journey enough to serve with humility, choose with wisdom, and build with quiet strength. Time has always been the most honest form of wealth, though it's the one most often squandered. Unlike money, which can be earned, lost, and regained, time moves forward without pause, silently reminding us that every choice is an investment. To spend time carelessly is to let your most valuable currency slip through your fingers, but to spend it with intention is to shape your future. The hidden truth is that our real budgets are not financial. They are measured in hours, in attention, in the energy we give to what matters most. If you track where your time goes, you'll see your values revealed more clearly than in any words you speak. Mindset shifts when you begin to schedule not your whims, but your values, aligning the minutes of your day with the priorities of your life. Behind the scenes of fulfillment, This is the pattern you'll always find. People who treat time as capital, investing it in relationships, skills, and pursuits that compound in meaning. This brings us directly to the tension between resilience and comfort. Comfort seduces with its ease, but it never strengthens. Resilience, on the other hand, requires discomfort, but it is what builds character, endurance, and true transformation. There is no elevator to success. You must take the stairs. And the climb is rarely smooth. It is slow, repetitive, sometimes exhausting. But persistence has a hidden power. Like water shaping rock, resilience is not about brute force. It is about consistency. Every small, repeated effort leaves its mark, even when you cannot see the results immediately. The impact of this process only becomes clear later, when you realize the mountain you once thought impossible has been conquered step by step. Comfort offers short-term relief, but resilience offers long-term strength. The choice between the two defines the trajectory of a life. And yet, even the strongest discipline and persistence can unravel if you cling too tightly to control. There is a hidden truth here. Peace begins where control ends. Many of life's anxieties are born from trying to manage what was never ours to command. The weather, the economy, other people's choices, these are beyond our grasp. The more we cling, the more fragile we become. Real power is in knowing where to hold the wheel and where to release it. Acceptance is not resignation. It is wisdom. It is standing firm where action matters and letting go where it doesn't. This is a mindset that protects energy, conserving it for what truly lies within your influence. Behind the scenes of every calm, grounded person, you'll find this balance, the courage to act where it counts, and the serenity to release the rest. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you invest your time like capital, when you choose resilience over comfort, and when you embrace peace instead of control, your entire journey shifts. Life begins to flow with a rhythm that is both steady and free, allowing you to focus on transformation rather than struggle against what you cannot change. Before we move on, take a moment to anchor this reflection and write in the comments, "I value my time." By declaring it, you remind yourself that every hour carries weight, every choice has impact, and every step of consistency brings you closer to the life you are shaping. Simplicity is often mistaken for lack, when in reality, it is the highest form of wisdom. The more life becomes cluttered with distractions, obligations, and endless noise, the more difficult it is to focus on what truly matters. Simplicity is not about having less. It is about clearing the unnecessary so the essential can shine. Do less, better, longer. This is where clarity multiplies both effectiveness and joy. When you strip away the non-essential, you realize that much of what once consumed your time and energy was only noise disguising itself as importance. Behind the scenes of real transformation, simplicity is always present. It gives you space to breathe, to think, and to direct your energy with precision. The hidden truth is that complexity often feels like progress, but it drains. Simplicity may seem humble, but it sustains. And once simplicity creates that space, another revelation emerges: the difference between performing and becoming. Too often success is seen as a finish line, a prize to be claimed at the end of the journey. But success is not an event, it is a lifestyle. When you live only to perform, you wear a mask, presenting what you believe others want to see. But when you focus on becoming, every day becomes a blank page on which you write with discipline, gratitude, courage, and love. The impact of this mindset shift is profound because it liberates you from the exhausting cycle of external validation and places your journey on the foundation of authenticity. Performance fades once the stage lights dim, but becoming continues, steady and unshaken, in silence as much as in visibility. This is the hidden truth of lasting transformation. It is not about milestones, but about the choices repeated day after day until they shape who you are at the deepest level. Each sunrise is an invitation to write again, to embody rather than to display, to evolve rather than to impress. And the more you align with this way of living, the more you discover that fulfillment is not found in the applause of others, but in the quiet certainty that you are walking in integrity with yourself. The behind-the-scenes work, the unseen decisions, the discipline maintained when no one is watching, these are the true markers of success. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you embrace simplicity and shift from performing to becoming, you step into a way of life that is not just about reaching goals, but about embodying values. This is where transformation ceases to be temporary and becomes who you are. Before we move forward, take a moment to reflect and write in the comments, "I choose simplicity." By doing this, you affirm not just the value of less, but the wisdom of living with clarity, authenticity, and depth. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, it tells me this message resonated with you in some way. That's why I'd love for you to subscribe, so you can keep receiving content that continues to spark reflection, growth, and real transformation in your own journey. And to mark that you made it here to the very end, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end." It's a simple way for us to connect, and it lets me know these words found the right place in you. If this conversation added something meaningful to your day, a like on the video is always appreciated. It helps me understand the kind of content that truly makes an impact. And don't stop here. There's a video right here that beautifully complements everything we've been talking about. Click and continue with me over there.